Do you know one of the biggest factors that sets beginners and pro mangakas apart? It's your paneling. One thing a lot of beginners don't even realize is that they're using the same boring poses and the same boring angles way too much. You know what the most common angles are? Front view, side view, 3/4 view. And some of the most common scenes are either close-up shots or bust shots of their stiff-looking characters. There's just no variety, no excitement. If you're guilty of this, don't worry because you are definitely watching the right video. We're gonna learn how to make our manga more exciting and dynamic that your readers will be craving for more. Before we continue, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you get updated on our latest manga tips and tutorials. If you're a beginner mangaka aspiring to create your first manga and you want to learn the steps, the techniques, the storytelling skills to create a one-shot that you can feel proud of, then we invite you to sign up to the waitlist for our online one-shot manga drawing program. You'll get to work with pro-Japanese mangakas who have over 50 years of experience in the industry. Plus, you'll be in a supportive community learning with fellow aspiring mangakas who are just as awesome and passionate as you are. You can click the link in the description to sign up to our waitlist. What makes manga so unique is that even if the scenes are just drawings, they still seem to leap off of the page and come to life. That's because pro mangakas have mastered all the techniques that go into creating relatable characters, dynamic scenes, and engaging stories. Stories that grip onto your heartstrings, stories that excite you and leave you wanting more. If you want to be a mangaka, you have to remember you're not just an artist or a writer, you're also a director. So your manga has to play out like a movie. Movies have so many different scenes and are constantly moving. So, if you want to make your manga more exciting, you need more movement, more drama, more depth. But how exactly can you do this? From learning paneling techniques to perspective to foreshortening to dynamic poses, etc., there's actually a lot of ways you can work on this. But as a beginner, we suggest starting from these three main things. When you're watching a movie, you're watching different scenes that were shot and then stitched together to tell a story. Mangas are like movies in that sense. But in manga, every single detail is drawn onto a page. The reader can see everything and all the scenes are laid out in panels. In manga, panels are typically in box format and arranged to be read from right to left. This is how readers are meant to follow the story. Now, as we mentioned before, a lot of beginners don't realize they use repetitive scenes in their manga. When you look at panels in a manga, try to imagine where the camera would be for every scene. For example, here's a one-page manga from our student Sabrina. In the time that we've worked with her, she's developed her anime drawing skills and she has created some really amazing illustrations. But this is pretty much her first time actually creating something close to her own manga. Notice that she drew different scenes from the same angle. The camera doesn't really move and stays in one spot the whole time, and all the characters are drawn the same way. Bust shots of them just standing still. So most of the scenes end up looking pretty similar to each other, making it a bit hard to follow the story, plus it's all kind of boring to read. If you've already worked on your own manga, I want you to take it out and look at it again. Be honest. Are you guilty of using similar camera angles and bust shots? Let us know in the comments. In case you're guilty, don't feel bad because it's absolutely normal to end up with manga like this on your first few tries. Here's how you can level up. Look at this page from the first chapter of My Hero Academia. The panels immediately catch your attention. Why? Because the scenes are dynamic. The characters are reacting and moving. The scenes are drawn in a way that makes you feel more immersed in the world. So, how do pros do this? Do you notice how the angle of a scene changes from panel to panel? Those different angles are called perspective. When the perspective shifts, think of a camera moving in a different angle. If the camera were pointing straight ahead, you get a front view. It feels like you're looking straight into a scene. If the camera is looking somewhere near the bottom of the panel, it's a low angle view. It feels like you're looking up into a scene from below. If the camera is somewhere above the panel, it's a bird's eye view. It feels like you're looking at a scene from above. These are only a few different ways mangakas play around with angles and perspective to add depth to their scenes. Perspective helps make scenes look more realistic and dynamic. So drawing in perspective is a critical skill any aspiring mangaka must learn. This will help you draw different kinds of scenes in all sorts of angles. If you want to learn more about the basics of perspective drawing, we actually have another video about how to draw backgrounds that talk more about this. We'll put the link in the description. We know drawing things in perspective can be quite intimidating, especially if you're a beginner. But don't worry, taking it step by step and breaking it down will help you get better. If you want to get a better sense of perspective, you can use this exercise our students do. Look at your favorite manga and try copying the panels. Break down these scenes into simple shapes. Analyze how the background and characters are arranged from panel to panel. Look at how the panels flow. Pro mangakas have not only mastered drawing dynamic scenes, but they've also mastered the flow of their panels. They know how to arrange them to tell a clear and engaging story. In manga, how well your panels flow will depend on your panel layout. Paneling is one of the many tools pro mangakas use to bring their stories to life. When you're arranging your panels, here are the things you have to consider. First is directionality. Manga panels are arranged from the top right to the bottom left of the page. Second is pacing. The size and number of panels can affect the pacing of the story. Smaller, more numerous panels can slow down the narrative, while larger panels can speed it up. Third is transitions. Clear transitions between scenes and actions make the story easy to follow without confusion. And lastly, visual guidance. The artwork and other elements like character movement, speech bubbles, and action lines are often designed to lead the reader's eye in the direction of the flow. If you look at older manga from the 80s or 90s, the panels are typically box-shaped and look more uniform. But when you look at manga now and see works from pros like Haruichi Furudate, the creator of Haikyuu, or Gege Akutami, the creator of Jujutsu Kaisen, their panel layouts are pretty intense. They're super creative and dynamic, utilizing more varied panel shapes and sizes to stylize their scenes and create tension. They think outside of the box. In some of their panels, objects and characters literally go beyond the borders to create more impact, making the characters look like they're literally leaping off of the page. Now, if you want to start paneling like the pros do, then start experimenting. Experiment with different panel shapes, sizes, and scene arrangements. For example, for action scenes, you might want to use larger panels to show dynamic action, like a character fighting or running. Or when something big happens, like a character revealing a secret or a plot twist, you might use a full page spread or a larger panel to give it extra impact. For scenes with more dialogue and emotion, smaller panels could be great for conversations or showing characters' emotions up close. Remember, there's no strict rule. We're not saying your panels have to be super cool and complex like in a lot of action-packed shonen series. Experimenting with paneling can help you find out what works best for your story and art style. For example, mangaka legend Naoki Urasawa uses simpler panel layouts in his manga. He's better known for his intricate long-form mystery epics. He's considered to be a master of smooth paneling and sharp dialogue. Because his stories have a lot of dialogue, his panels are arranged in a simpler, more straightforward way in order to tell a clear story. Despite this, his scenes are engaging and have good variety. But also, Urasawa-sensei has been drawing manga since he was 4 years old, so he's had a lot of time to experiment and master his craft. If you haven't yet, again, you need to start experimenting too. When I say manga effects, what do you think of? Speed lines from shonen manga, flowery romantic screen tones from shoujo, tech sound effects like boom or doki doki. Manga has such a unique stylistic flair to its effects. We've noticed that some beginners don't put in that much effort into studying how to incorporate them properly. but it can actually make your storytelling way more impactful. You can better illustrate things like sound, impact, movements, or even emotions. Even though you're just looking at illustrations on a page, it can still feel just as intense as watching an anime or movie. If you want to incorporate effects properly, first, you have to consider the genre and art style of your manga. Think about the type of story you want to tell. Is it action-packed, funny, mysterious? Deciding this at the get-go will influence what your manga will look like. It'll affect how you design and draw characters, and of course, what kind of effects would go well with the mood and vibe of your story. For example, Kentaro Miura's detailed and gritty art style in Berserk also showed in his use of bolder, grittier looking effects. These effects enhanced the dark and mature themes of Berserk. Whereas in Sailor Moon, an iconic magical girl manga, Naoko Takeuchi's more dainty and elegant art style also showed in her use of softer and more romantic effects. And in more mature josei manga like Nana, Ai Yazawa used subtle motion lines and background effects, focusing more on the characters and relationships. Can you see how your visual art style gives your story more personality? Now, here are some effects you can use in your manga. First is motion lines, also known as speed lines or action lines. They're a classic manga effect used to depict movement, action, and speed. They're often depicted as lines trailing behind a moving object or a character. By incorporating motion lines in your scenes, whether it's a swift punch, a lightning fast dash, or a dramatic leap, you can make movements feel more dramatic. Different mangakas have their own way of using and drawing motion lines, so study how your favorite mangakas do it. Second is sound effects. You can add sound cues to visual scenes. For example, adding words like bam, pow, whoosh can help complement actions, impacts, or even character reactions. From intense battle scenes to more funny scenes, adding sound effects can really elevate the mood of your story. The last effect we're discussing today is manpu. Is it the first time you're hearing this word? Actually, you've probably been seeing manpu everywhere in a manga. One of the biggest attractions of manga is the big stylistic expressions of the characters. This is manpu. This is manpu. This is also manpu. Manpu or manga symbols are those extra details you use to exaggerate and enhance your character's expressions. You know those diagonal lines artists put on cheeks to signify blushing? That's a manpu. You can add the classic vein-popping manpu when your character is feeling angry or annoyed. Shadow lines for when your character is feeling down or negative. Look out for more manpu the next time you read a manga and try to incorporate it in your story. Learning how to add all these special effects, how to spice up your angles, and how to create a good panel flow are part of what we help our students with in our one-shot manga drawing program. Here's a sample page from our student Eduardo, who was able to combine all these elements together. In this one page alone, he's got a top view angle, lower view angle, front view. He even has this panel where you're almost looking over the character's shoulder. The upper half of his page uses more boxy panels, but the lower half has a more dynamic layout. And then you got the special effects. The speed lines, the manpu, even the way he added tones and shading to his scenes really gives more depth and drama to his storytelling. Not bad for an amateur, right? If you want to learn how to create your own one-shot manga like Eduardo and work with pro-Japanese mangakas, then make sure to sign up to the waitlist of our online one-shot manga drawing program. We have a supportive community of fellow aspiring mangakas just like you who'll be in this whole journey with you together. We can't wait to speak with you. In the meantime, you can check out this video to avoid the top 5 beginner mangaka mistakes that's killing your progress. Enjoy!